Imagine you meet a beautiful stranger, she's just your type, and your instinct tells you, go talk to her. But at the same time, these thoughts pop into your head and get in the way. You just can't figure out how to approach her. Like, for example, you think, man, she's so beautiful, but what would I even say to her? Or maybe you even get thoughts like, damn, I'm too old for her, right? She looks way too young and definitely won't be interested in me. But is it really that bad? Or maybe you do have a chance, even if you're 50 and she looks like she's about 30. Today I'm going to tell you from A to Z what you need to do to successfully approach and get a woman interested in you, when meeting in public places. Look, there are 5 key steps that will help you successfully meet women on the street and in other public places. The first step is optional, but I highly recommend it. It's the warm-up. Look, a lot of guys think, damn, I'm just plain scared, I can't bring myself to go up to a girl. Or I feel this strong resistance that I just can't get past. This is very often because your mind isn't warmed up. It's the same thing as, for example, at the gym. When you get there, you don't immediately start benching the maximum weight you can lift. Like if you can press 100 or 120 kilograms, you still warm up first. You stretch your joints, right? Your muscles. Then you start with 50 kilograms, then 70, 90, and you gradually work your way up to your max weight. Because if you try to lift your max weight right away, your body might just not be able to handle it and you could get injured. Well, it's pretty much the same thing with your mind. In other words, look, when you're not warmed up, your brain just isn't firing on all cylinders, so to speak. It's not on the right frequency you need to meet a woman and basically to start a conversation with a stranger. So the first step I highly recommend you use is to warm up from time to time, right? Let's say to keep your social muscle for talking to strangers in shape. How can you do that? There's a very simple formula you just need to start using. For example, you're walking down the street, you see a woman who's more or less attractive, right? You don't even have to try to start a full conversation with her. You just take the next step, a greeting plus a compliment. So you just say, hey, you look great. Hi, that dress really suits you. Basically, the first thing that comes to mind. This is an optional step. You don't have to do it, but I highly recommend you do it from time to time. First, it'll help you get over that subconscious block of, geez, how am I going to talk to a stranger? Second, it'll just help you, let's say warm up, like you're literally warming up your muscles. And third, you'll actually have situations where you start a conversation just like that and you two really hit it off. It'll just happen. So use this opportunity. Look, there's another way you can warm up. You just call a woman an acquaintance of yours, right? You don't talk to her that often. She's just an acquaintance and you just call to see how she's doing. This is, let's say, it's a light option, but it also helps to get your mind a little more alert and ready for the fact that you're about to meet someone. Maybe you're going to a bar with the intention of meeting someone. And then I'll tell you how to meet people in establishments. The same thing on the streets. Let's take it further. So we've covered the first point. This is a warm-up that I highly recommend doing. The second step is to use certain working templates. Below, I will tell you the coolest and most effective way to meet people in public places. But in order to use it, ideally, you need to be in an overclocked state. And so, in order to maximally accelerate your psyche, you can initially use templates. Let's not fill our heads with a bunch of templates. I'll give you one that I used, which really helps with both acceleration and, the psyche, yes, and also helps, it often really helps to get to know each other. Look, just the following formula. Hello plus a compliment, what we already said. Plus you ask, how is your mood? That is, for example, you say you see a girl, you just look at what you liked most about her and you compliment it. Hi, wow, you are very slim. How are you? Hi, you have a very beautiful dress. How are you? Hi, you have a very beautiful figure. How are you? Try different compliments, okay? Look, this is a very important point. You don't need to come up and get acquainted with the idea, I should definitely succeed. If you react like this, if you behave like this, you will encounter the strongest resistance. And if you fail, you'll have a damn thing, right? So you just come up and just talk, right? And you don't need to filter too much the words and compliments that you say. Damn, what if I tell her that you have a beautiful figure there? She'll think I'm perverted. It doesn't matter. Look, the main task here is for you to basically start meeting and communicating with women. Remember the following. No man has a 100% success rate in dating. The most important thing is that the man basically gets to know each other, and thanks to this, he manages to get a phone number from time to time and start a conversation. Somewhere they understand but this move worked well for me personally, and this move worked well here. I'll try here, I'll try here. And in this way, you will be able to get a number of chips that will help you. For example, from the last one of the students I worked with, he was returning home one day from a conference where he spoke, and he came across a girl and he got to know her. And he said, by the way, that I was coming from a conference and so was there, and so was giving a report there. And he noticed that she immediately developed a certain interest in the way he was performing. Of course, that's one of the triggers. Yes, that is social proof, right? When you have, let's say, a certain weight, when other people listen to you, well, not extra weight, right? I mean, personal weight. Other people listen to you, you give presentations, that's attractive. Just like physical appearance is attractive to us, for women, a certain weight in terms of status is attractive. And you'll be able to, if you regularly meet people and try different things to tell a woman, you'll be able to find what works. Like it worked here and it worked here and here. So this man, my student, told me about it and I said, that's a really cool move. But let's get back to the topic. So you just walk up and say, hello plus a compliment plus how's your mood? This is a basic template that works well. It works incomparably better than phrases like, hi, can I meet you? Why? Because when you're meeting a woman, the most important basic rule is to approach her and start talking as if you're old acquaintances who just haven't seen each other in a long time. If you go up to a girl and say, Carmen, can I meet you? Right? You'll most likely get a no, you'll get rejected because you shouldn't do that, okay? Let me explain briefly. You're basically shifting the responsibility onto the woman. She doesn't know you at all. She doesn't know what to expect from you. And if she tells you, yes, you can meet me, right? Then she's kind of taken on the responsibility because she said yes. And what's so bad about that? Well, she took on the responsibility. The bad part is that she doesn't know you yet. In her experience, like any beautiful girl, there have been plenty of guys who tried to meet her and, well, she just wasn't interested at all, you know? And so accordingly, if she says, yes, you can meet me, but then you turn out to be boring, what is she supposed to do? This happens automatically for them, right? So they don't think through this sequence of actions. It's just how their subconscious logic works. How do I know? Because I'm a psychologist. Besides talking to women on dates and meeting them, I'm also a psychologist. And I saw a lot of interesting questions. Well, let's say I asked them, saw their answers, and started to better understand how their subconscious works, right? So don't approach with that phrase. Approach as if you already know her and you just haven't seen each other in a while. Okay, let's move on to the very best way to meet someone. This is the contextual approach. This means you use the context of what's around you for the introduction, where you're meeting, what she's wearing or what she's doing. For example, let's consider meeting someone in a park. You're just walking, strolling through the park, and then you see a beautiful woman sitting on a bench reading a book. You slowly approach her, right? You look at the cover, right? She notices you and you say to her, oh, sorry, I thought you were reading a Chase detective novel. The covers of his books look a lot like that. And of course, you see that it's probably some other author and you can ask her, so what book is that? What are you reading? She'll say something and then you can say to her, wow, listen, that's cool. You don't often see people reading in the park. It's a rarity these days. I love to read myself. And that's it. You've broken the ice. You've started a conversation. Now that you've done that, the fourth important step, and I'll show you how to do it right now using this example, is to build trust. That is, to make the woman trust you and create a light emotional connection with her. This is very important, and it's something men often don't know how to do, right? And they don't do it. And that's why their introductions don't lead anywhere, because look, to her, you're a stranger. She doesn't know who you are, and so she has no feelings for you. You have feelings because she's beautiful and that triggered you, your sexual instinct kicked in. But women don't react to a man's body the same way we react to a woman's body. It doesn't arouse them to the same degree. Also, women have a certain fear of unfamiliar men, and as long as you're in that category, she's wary of you. So it's very important for you to spend a little time building trust and an emotional connection with her. How can you do this? Well, again, in this context, in this example, you can easily make her feel pleasant emotions. So remember, you need to start making the woman feel pleasant emotions, the kind she usually feels around people she's close to, people she knows. Then the principle of association kicks in. She feels these pleasant emotions when she's with her close friends, her brother, or someone else she knows. She's felt them with you. And so you quickly start to be associated with someone close to her. Accordingly, the stranger or unfamiliar label no longer applies. So how can you do that in this case? How can you make her feel pleasant emotions? Use the context. Talk a little about the book she's reading. Ask her what she likes about it, what's the most interesting part. Ask what other books by that author she might recommend. Because Well, in this case, right, we're assuming you're a reader yourself. That's why you started the conversation through the book. Said it reminded you of something, complimented her that it's rare to see people reading, that it's cool, and that you love to read yourself. And so you ask, what the book is, what she likes most about it, right? See, you're not even asking what it's about. You're focusing on a question that gets at her emotions. What do you like most about this book? So talk to her like that. Ask questions that will get her into her emotions. And remember, don't get stuck on one topic. Right, so you talk about that for a bit, then move on to another topic. For example, you can ask her how she generally likes to spend her free time, besides reading. So use, these transitions to different topics. You're talking about what she's reading, which is a hobby. Great. Ask her how else she likes to spend her time, what else she likes to do. If you dwell too much on one topic, it will just be boring, and at some point the conversation will just fall apart. And watch for signs that an emotional connection is being established. What are these signs? Well, it's when she smiles at you, when she talks to you openly and tells you things, when her voice is relaxed, when she looks at you, when she asks you questions in return. If those signs are there, great. You've established an initial emotional connection with her. And now, in principle, you can go ahead and ask for her phone number and, let's say, call her later and ask her out. How did I do it? Again, you can either just use the context, or, for example, I had a prepared line that I used very often. I'd look at my watch and say, oh, shoot, damn, I totally lost track of time. I have a dentist appointment soon. I have to run. But it was really nice talking to you. You're a very pleasant person. And I'd love to run into you again sometime and talk some more, get to know you better. Let's exchange numbers. We'll call each other and figure something out. There. And that's how you get the number, meaning you take out yours, right, and kind of wait. If she starts to hesitate, if she starts saying things like, oh, I don't know, blah, 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 then I would say the following, and I recommend you do too. Listen, I'm not one of those guys who's going to blow up your phone and desperately try to get a response. No, you seemed interesting to me. If you were interested too, let's just give it a chance, just talk. It doesn't commit you to anything. And if for some reason you're not into it, well, I'll get the hint quickly because you either won't answer or whatever. I won't bother you. After that, the girl would usually give her phone number. If you structure your interaction with a woman this way, then first you very quickly evoke cool, pleasant emotions in her. Second, you get her number not just so you'll go away, but because she's genuinely interested. And third, when you call her, she'll remember those emotions will rush back and it will be pleasant to talk to you, and she'll almost certainly agree to go on a date with you. Because if girls have given you their number, but then they either didn't pick up the phone or refused to go on a date, it's one of two things. From the very beginning, they felt uncomfortable somehow, and they just gave you the number to, end the conversation and make you leave. Or the second thing, yes, they gave the number, there was some interest, but there wasn't enough trust, enough of an emotional connection. And you know what happens with women very often, and with us too, actually, they go away and process it. Damn, but what about this, and what about that, and who is he? And she could have created an unattractive picture of you in her head because there was no emotional connection. And she's thinking, what if he's like this? What if he's like that? What if he's like this other thing? And so you call later and think, damn, we had a good conversation. Why isn't she picking up? It's simply because there wasn't that level of trust and emotional connection that you should strive for, right? When you first meet. So the girl worked herself up and that's it. She just didn't see a future. Well, she didn't want to talk to you anymore. And look, there's a very common problem. Men simply don't know how to build trust and an emotional connection with women when they first meet and on dates. And actually, it's not that difficult. It's just that nobody teaches this, nobody pays any attention to it. There is a way you can build an emotional connection with a woman on a date in literally half an hour. I talk about this on my Telegram channel. Right, so just follow the link in the description, or it's also in the first pinned comment. And read this post where I explain how in literally half an hour of conversation on a date, you can build trust and, an emotional connection with her, one that makes her completely relax and start treating you like someone she's known for a long time. And that means she'll be ready for more than just talking with you. She'll be relaxed. And if you later start to get physically intimate with her, she won't react to you like some stranger who's scaring her. On the contrary, she'll react normally because she's already relaxed and has already started to trust you. So if you have trouble talking to women, if there are regular awkward pauses or you just get lost for words, you should definitely check out the approach I described on the Telegram channel. Okay, so let's look at another example of how this works. Let's say you want to meet a woman, some seductive beauty at some establishment. Let's say a pub, a bar, a restaurant, I don't know, it doesn't matter. The principle doesn't change. Even if it's a nightclub, the principle stays the same. The only difference is that it'll be, of course, a bit noisier, but still. Look, again, if nothing comes to mind and you don't know how to use the context of the bar or the place you're in or the fact that she's drinking some kind of cocktail, well, let's look at that example right now. But let's say you don't know how to use the context. Again, you just walk up to her and use the template. Hi, a compliment, how's your mood? And then you just develop the conversation. If it doesn't go anywhere, no big deal. You just walk away and go back to sitting with your friends and so on. There, that's the attitude you should have. But if you can use the context, it's more effective. So let's look at that exact example. Let's say a woman is sitting and drinking some kind of cocktail. And so you walk up to her, you just walk up and say, that looks appetizing. It seems like you know your way around the cocktails here. Which one is the best? And let's say she answers, I like the mojito the best. That's it. You've made a start. You just started a conversation with her. She answered you. And that's the most important part, that you said something and she replied. The connection has started to form. Now, as you already know, and we've already discussed this, your task is to start building trust and an emotional connection. In this case, the best approach would be to comment on what she told you, right, about the mojito, and make some kind of observation about her and then ask her a question. For example, like this: mojito, wow, nice. Do you always prefer the classics or do you sometimes choose something unexpected? And she'll tell you something in response, like that mojito is her favorite cocktail, or that she likes to try different cocktails depending on the situation. Now, look, as we discussed earlier, you don't want to get stuck on one topic, right? So it doesn't get boring, and so the conversation doesn't feel, well, stuffy. You need to smoothly probe her personality traits through different topics, moving from one to the next. This is something many men don't do. They don't understand its importance. They think, man, I just need to talk about something. But ideally, no. You need to get to know the woman, right? To understand what kind of person she is. Why is this important? Let me tell you right away. One of the key mistakes men make is when they ask a woman out, they just say, let's go grab a coffee. You know, it's just a standard worn out option. But if you learn about a woman's personality traits, you can suggest a type of date that will be, based on those very personality traits. And then you're not just suggesting coffee, but I don't know, going to an Italian restaurant because that's her favorite type of food, right? Or maybe going bowling together because that's her favorite sport or game. She really loves it. And you play bowling too. That will motivate a woman much more than if you just say, when you call her, let's go for coffee. You see? How can you better understand her personality and, well, her preferences? Well, look, in this example, you just discussed cocktails with her. You can also say, okay, I see, when it comes to cocktails, you like the classics. So how do you usually like to spend your free time? Parties like this or some cozy nights at home? And that's how you'll learn more about her. Is she a party girl who likes to have a great time, be active, socialize with a lot of people? Or is she, on the contrary, someone who, let's say, prefers to stay at home, watch a series, do her own thing? So you ask questions in this direction to understand how she usually likes to spend her time. And so that you can later come up with great suggestions for her for how you can spend time together when you meet. You should get an even better understanding of her interests, her hobbies. Right? So ask her a question like, how do you usually like to spend your time when you're not busy with like work? Yeah, so talk about that a little. Ask these questions, like, what activities give you the most emotional charge and energy? And look, I'm just throwing questions at you right now. Obviously, in a real conversation, it'll be a back and forth. She asks you something, you ask her something. Basically, you're finding out from the woman how she likes to spend her free time. And when you see that you have some things in common, you should point that out and comment on it. For example, wow, you like bowling too? No way, that's an awesome coincidence because I absolutely love it. And I think we should set up a little friendly game sometime and just have some fun bowling. Yeah, you can even name the club you go to, to go bowling. And say, this is called in pickup artist lingo, which I'm personally not a huge fan of, but it has some really cool, good things. Future pacing, right? It's when you and a woman are already like planning a future activity together. So you're not arranging when, what, or how just yet. You're just saying that it could be, or it would be cool. We should, right? And you've already justified it by saying, wow, you love bowling. I love it too. So it's like this coincidence happened between you. Or for example, if you found out that she likes to ride a bicycle in her free time, it's the same thing. You can say, cool, that's awesome. I love riding my bike too. And I've been looking for someone for a while who I can just relax and ride with along the embankment. And you seem like the person who could really get a kick out of that too. So, you see, again, it's a light future pace with a hint that you two can meet up and go for a ride. And at the same time, you immediately see how she reacts. So definitely use these rules, okay? And one more thing, the last thing, right? If you, in general, have a question about how to build sexual intimacy with a woman, how to flirt, right? Or like how to get sexually close, how to get to a kiss, to sex, I'm not pestering, it's not working, or something else, well then please watch the video right here that just appeared, because in it I explain in detail what you need to do so that a woman wants you sexually and so that you can be intimate with her. On that note, I'll say goodbye until we meet again.